LomoChrome Purple is a very special film stock from Lomography that alters colors in a unique way. It essentially transforms green and yellow into purple and pink, while tweaking blue into turquoise, creating a truly distinctive look. Often seen as an experimental film due to its surreal aesthetic, it has become one of my top picks for film photography over the past 2 years. This film stock was developed during what many call the dark ages of film photography, when film stocks were getting discontinued and digital cameras were taking over the world. At that time, Lomography was likely trying to help keep analog photography alive by creating unique film stocks that couldn't easily be replicated digitally, at least not without hours of Photoshop going into it. When Lomography launched LomoChrome Purple in 2013, it was presented as a tribute to the now discontinued Kodak Aerochrome infrared film. You've probably seen Aerochrome infrared images before, for they are instantly recognizable. Infrared light is invisible to the human eye, and is mostly reflected by chloroplast and leaves. And when captured with color infrared film, vegetation appears in striking reddish and pink tones. One of the most well-known uses of this film stock is the documentary The Enclave by Richard Mosse. It was released in 2013 and shot on Kodak Aerochrome 16mm film during the Eastern Congo Civil War. This conflict being overlooked by the international medias, even though it was one of the worst crises at the time, Richard decided to use the film that shows the unseen light to reveal the unseen stories of Congo. More recently, the same signature infrared look was used in Australian Floods in Infrared by Ajamian in 2023. I actually saw those shots at the annual World Press Photo Exhibition in Montreal, and this project was really striking from the rest of the collection. This technology is primarily used in scientific applications. Since vegetation reflects infrared light strongly, it makes it ideal for environmental analysis. The Aerochrome film stock was actually developed by Kodak during the World Wars to be able to see military infrastructures, personnel, and vehicles hidden in dense foliage with camouflage. In both projects, infrared imagery was used to reveal hidden beauty and stories within the events depicted. It was a powerful creative tool to tell impactful stories. But here's the key difference with LomoChrome Purple. It's not an infrared film. It's essentially a traditional Kodak film stock, maybe gold or Ultramax, that Lomography likely is reconfigured by adjusting the chemical layers to interpret colors differently. The exact recipe is obviously a closely guarded secret. As a result, Lomo Purple offers a color shift reminiscent of Aerochrome, but without the true infrared response. Regular films and digital sensors don't capture much infrared light, so you won't get the same highlights or the same palette as with an actual infrared film. That being said, Lomo Purple still delivers an absolutely unique and surreal look that can give a creative edge to your photography. The film is actually challenging to shoot. Depending on what ISO you set your camera to, you'll get different color results. For example, if you rate it at ISO 100, the purples will appear lighter and closer to pink. At ISO 400, the overall tones become deeper and more intense towards purple. Personally, I shoot it at box speed, knowing I'll make adjustments in Photoshop to achieve the aesthetic that I have in mind, which is actually a blend between the Lomo Purple and the Kodak Aerochrome look. So basically, I aim for pink-ish red foliage, a hint of teal in the sky, and everything else looking as natural as possible. This film stock is tricky because it doesn't retain much details in the highlights or shadows. You might also notice a lot of artifacts in the dark areas of your image. It also tends to cast purple across the whole image, especially when shooting in green environments. Since green reflects a lot of light, that's something to keep in mind while shooting. Despite all of that, I love the grain and the texture it provides. It almost feels like a painting, as you can sense the brushstrokes in the image. The softness and slightly vintage feel are a big part of why I enjoy it too. For some reason, the overall palette appears very pastel to me, which I find visually pleasing. I've also found that shooting Lomo Purple in 120 format is even more difficult. Or maybe I just haven't cracked the right recipe yet and I'm just a dumbass. But it seems easier to overexpose, and you can lose the sky quite easily if you're not careful with exposure. For the look that I want, I've learned that I need to shoot this film on a bright sunny day, when sun really hits the colors I want to emphasize. One of my all-time favorite results was a roll I shot in Mexico last year. Many of those images came out nearly perfect straight from the negatives. My favorite shot from the roll is a duo taking pictures with their phone on the beach. The sky in that photo turned out dramatically teal and pink, and the texture created by the grain, amplified by their low light conditions, makes it look like a painting, which I find really pleasing. I also love the layering in that image, with the subjects placed in the middle of all the elements that create depth in the frame. I like to use this film in locations that have been photographed a million times, just to get that one special and unique take that no one else has. That's why I always bring some when I travel or when I walk around tourist spots. On a practical note, this film stock is on the cheaper side and develops in standard C41 chemistry, making it a budget-friendly stock. I understand that this film isn't for everyone. It creates a surreal, almost sci-fi look. But just like aerochrome, I feel that it can be used to reveal hidden beauty and serve as a strong storytelling medium in the right projects. I've now shot enough of it to know how to treat it so it aligns with my taste and fits into my work. I recently bought a bunch of rolls and plan to start a project with them soon, so stay tuned. I might document the process and share how I shoot and edit the images to match my vision. On that note, long live film, and see you soon for another film photography video.